Hello everyone, welcome back to the KMTRADERS channel. So this is the full market analysis volume 83. Again, we'll give you a run of our insights for the following week and also compare our analysis from last week. So we are going to give gold and Euro USD a video on its own. I just want to talk about a few things on that. But yeah, without further ado, we're going to take a look into NZDUSD first off with. So what we were looking at from last week was pretty much a potential sell-off opportunity. Now, as we can see here, prices pretty much ended up pushing up higher, which, I guess was partially correct. And we can see that we've had some sort of, sell-off happening right now. So it's not really clear for now exactly if this is the turning point. But there's two things that I wanted to conclude from that price action. And that pretty much is basically something as simple as this, where we'll either get two scenarios where we will either get the price to push up higher, either make a double top or some sort of thing, or it will start to reject. And if we start to see that happening, there is a potential that we could find a rejection at 0.71, and if that happens, then we can see that there's going to be a follow-on of momentum to push towards the downside, and we could even target 0.685 as a possible low to take. But yeah, the other scenario is that this is now going to pretty much start selling off, and if that's the case, then what we could expect is price to just retrace just a little bit and then turn all the way down towards the downside. So that's pretty much where I'm personally going to take my potential positions from. For me, I don't really see this being bullish anytime soon unless we break 0.71 with strong momentum and strong candles, strong green candles towards the upside. But yeah, personally, I feel like there is a possibility of more bearish pressure, just basing this from the judgment of how price has just been continuously pushing lower and lower, and we pretty much are in this huge consolidation area right now. So I think maybe we could have one more push lower, and if so, it will be up for grabs what we do next. But again, it's better to wait for price action to do its thing before we can even consider our next potential move, really. So yeah, so that's where I'm pretty much standing by with NZDUSD. So we'll move on now to AUDUSD. So for this pair, what we were expecting is pretty much price to push up higher. Now again, remember our our analysis points. We don't always say we don't always mean that price has to go all the way up to these exact turning points, where we've got them drawn. I hope that kind of makes sense. It's just pretty much an estimation of how where price could go. So for example, I believe price action was around here from last week. So what we explained was potential price to push up, and I think we were even discussing the possibility of looking at a buying option. So if you were able to get in on this, I'm not really too sure if there was a lot of pips here, but the highest end of about just 80 pips. But essentially what I'm personally considering is just this long term, which is the continuation of this trend to the downside. So I'm personally looking for sells still, and that's where I've pretty much had the second option, which is where we could look for those sells. So as we can see, price is pretty much rallying up higher, or pretty much staying in this sideways channel, something like this. We could be just practically just range bound in this area. So what I'm pretty much doing is, for this pair, again similarly to NZDUSD, is to take this towards the downside. So again, there's going to be possibly two scenarios here, and that is if price decides to make one more push up higher, then we could take a sell. But the opposing scenario is that this just continues to sell off, so we could wait for a little retracement and then price to push lower. So I am looking into 0.725, even into 0.72. So I'll put this target pretty much here, so you see there's a two different marking points. So we could look at 0.725 and 0.72. so the reason why I say those two figures is purely because we look at those levels and we watch price action at them and see how they react, because we know that these points, they are quite reactive and you know, pretty much when you're looking back in time, there has been previous rejections or supports and resistance around those key levels. So again, just keep that in mind, that we don't you know, completely trade off the levels. It's important to tie that in with price action, so you know what is going to happen really. So that's what I look out for anyway. So but again, pretty much what this I'm looking out for is pretty much this sell-off opportunity, and yeah, I think that price still has this ability to push lower based on the, you know, the momentum of the market is pushing lower. It's moving, you know, it's in terms of the upside rally or the upside, it's very slow, and it's not entirely too aggressive pushing higher. It's just really consolidating and range bound. So yeah, I hope that kind of makes sense why we're looking to push lower. So yeah, we'll move on now to USDJPY. So what we was mentioning last week was pretty much an ideal possibility of price, you know, staying within this low, I think. But what ended up happening was price made pretty much a new low. So I feel like we negated this possibility here. So what I'm looking at now for UJ is, if we can get rid of these two options for now, but what I'm actually curious to see is how strong this bullish momentum is, you know, going to last for, because this will be quite crucial. Because if we get something like this and it continues to rocket higher than this zone here, so literally around 111.5, we could actually see more continuations of price action pushing higher. But you know, like I said, I'm going to draw out some possibilities that what we could be looking out for, and so it could be something like this where where we'll get price to push up higher and then turn down towards the downside. Or the second scenario is price will just push up just a little bit and push into the lows. So yeah, ideally we could be looking at 108.5, if I mark that out there, and you know, pretty much, you know, that's where I would personally be looking into. That's what I'm going to be looking out for as well. So you know, pretty much a head and shoulder, so that could be a possibility. But yeah, I'm just really curious to see how strong this action is. Again, divergence wise, it's not entirely too strong right now. Let me just get rid of the previous analysis of the divergence. But yeah, so you know, right now we're not really diverging too much, but there is a slight divergence there. So it could make sense that price could push up higher but then drop off. So that's why I'm still looking in for those sell-off opportunities still. And again, you know, ideally we could still make a good 100 plus pips on this. So again, it's just pretty much waiting for price action to do its thing, and you know, not rush that process really. So yeah, so moving on to CADJPY. So yeah, what we spoke about last week was pretty much we're looking for this sell-off opportunity, and we wasn't really too sure if we were going to get a deep retracement or anything like that. But yeah, we said in the second scenario that there is a possibility of looking at a buying opportunity and watching it rise up towards the upside. So there was a chance to look at a hedge opportunity here, and yeah, pretty much there was this rebound or reaction, roughly at 86.5 or so, and that went for a good 100 pips. So if you manage to catch that, you know, that's obviously a good job, and you know, pretty much well done on that one. But what I'm thinking is from now is I just want to discuss you know, what price action is doing for now, because I feel like we could have this possibility, and you know, there's going to be a few scenarios that I wanted to draw out here just to keep things in picture and perspective. So my first thought from this, right, is that we've had this reaction, we've had this bullish momentum, it kind of faded out, but then we had this strength pushed down, but it was instantly, you know, retraces, etc. So what we could be looking into is for price to make a low at 80 into 85.5, and that would be a direct sell-off opportunity right there and then. So that could be actually quite, you know, this setup could be quite early in the week and a rise early in the week. But the second scenario is that I am looking into is this opportunity for price to so the second thing is pretty much a sell. Oh, I don't know why I said that. second opportunity is still a sell, but price would push up higher and then drop off. But then the third thing which I'm looking at, again, these are both sell-off opportunities, but the third thing is if we start to see price break a lot higher, potentially around, I think, let me see my notes, sorry, I think if we could get above 90 does look like a strong level towards me. If we do get above this level, then, you know, pretty much what we'll end up doing is just letting price action do its thing and then see if we can get a retest and look for those continuations. So again, if this does want to start to rally up higher, then we're pretty much going to have to wait for like a next week's opportunities or so, if that makes sense, because we need to try and find that retest before we get an entry. But if possible for this week, if price does want to sell off, overall we could be looking at these two scenarios here. So pretty much my eyes are open for selling opportunities, but if we start to rally up higher and higher, the closer that we get to 90, and if we break it, I think there is a possibility that there is more bullish momentum in play here. But again, it really is up to price action and just pretty much waiting for the market to do its thing. So I'm not going to rush that CADJPY pair. I think that one's going to possibly be in the back of my mind for now. I'm not entirely too keen on that pair, but yeah, like I said, we'll see what happens. So EURJPY, what we was expected for last week was a sell-off opportunity in our first scenario. So pretty much price to break down, wait for a retest around this area, and then sell off. So there's on the end of the week there could have been that possibility to take that sell, but yeah, we'll see clearly through the week if we can continue that. I think there is a possibility for price to pretty much take that low. So I'm not going to do what's it called? I'm not going to like spend my mind debating whether price will go up higher and then drop off low, or this will be one of the two things could happen. So if we do take a sell, it's going to be within this range here, 130.5. But if we start to see price rally up higher, there is this possibility of this bullish momentum to continue. So if we do see something bullish, we have to just wait for price action to show us that price wants to really rally up higher. So I'm not entirely too convinced just yet. So personally, I really want to see like something like this to be up here, and then we can wait on that retest. So something like this as a retest, and then hopefully it continues to push up higher. So again, I'm quite happy with this bullish idea. So possibly if we break 131 with strength, then that could be a good possibility. But like I said, we do have to wait for price action to show us really as time goes on. So yeah, so that's what I'm sticking with for now. So looking into NZDJPY, so for this, I think what we was expecting, I'm not sure why this is too big, but anyway, what I was expecting is for price to push lower, but we've pretty much had a rally towards the upside, so pretty much in an oversold, an overbought condition, sorry. There is a possibility of this turning over, so I think I'm personally going to be looking for something like this for now, where we could catch a retest. So again, guys, this retest mark, well, these drawings are not drawn to scale or anything, so I'm not saying that price is exactly going to turn around at 76.406. Essentially, we're going to be looking for that retest. So the retest could be, you know, up here, you know, and it could be lower, it could be higher, etc. So what you really need to do is just pay attention for and look out for that retesting possibility. But for now, I think there is the opportunity to push lower, even into 75. I believe it will be a good level to take some profits at and secure something. But yeah, I am looking for price to potentially push lower still. And yeah, carrying that on with AJ, I think following on that momentum, I think that there is a possibility for price to still push lower. What I think is likely is for price to push up higher once more, maybe, and then have that turnover point. I'm not really too keen on any buying opportunities right now because of this, you know, sideways moving market right now. I've done that quite roughly, but you can see what I'm trying to draw out there. So pretty much we've got this channel being formed, so we could expect price to just, you know, bounce off within this range and have some sort of rejection, even looking at 82.5 or even at 82. Watch out for some rejections, and there is that possibility of price heading into 80 or even into 79.5 or so. So yeah, I am looking for those sell-off opportunities still. Excuse me. So finally, we're looking into USDCHF. So this one has been quite tricky. I do have some questions about this. I'm not entirely too sure, but ultimately what I really want to do is try and get in on buying opportunities. So I think what we were looking out for was pretty much those continuations or a potential sell-off opportunity. But what I'm thinking of doing, there's two scenarios here. And the first one is I'm quite anxious. Well, I'm quite interested in to see how strong this bullish pressure can continue. So if this is still strong and we see price still push up higher, I will be waiting for a potential retest before we look at a continuation. So again, we are looking into for price to head into 93, and I really want to see price continue this momentum to push up higher. I like how price has been bullish up here, but like I said, anything can happen. So in part of my mind, I am keeping an eye out for price to possibly take a turnover towards a downside and then have price rally up towards the upside. So again, it really doesn't matter in my opinion, because either way I think that the profit count and the profits on either position will be great. I think it really just depends if we can get in and it's not too complicated, and if it's in our time zone, of course, and if we're awake and everything. But yeah, ideally I want to see price long term go higher, so I am looking out for some buying opportunities. So yeah, if we do check our divergence, there was that divergence forming very strongly here, so I am quite convinced for now that we could be looking at continuations up higher, but in the back of my mind I'm being mindful of any positions towards the downside. That's if we break this low, and yeah, so that's ideally what I'm looking out for. And yeah, so finally for USDCAD, what I am personally anticipating is for price to actually make one more drop off. So there is this option of price making a low, and if it can, and if it does, then we can actually create two opportunities here. So we could get a short-term sell, and then we can create a long-term buy. And if so, I want to take out this high, so matching into 1.285. So if we just were to check that pip count, because I'm actually quite curious. So the downside is 150 pips, but then the potential upside, a good 400. So I am quite keen to see what happens with USDCAD. The other thing that could happen with this one actually is if price does break up high and we don't get price to drop off, we could just look for something like this and retest in a continuation play. And as something as simple as that, we can still get in and try and secure some good profits there. So I wouldn't be too surprised if that was to happen either. So yeah, I am just keeping a mind of that, and yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to be looking out for this week. So guys, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, I do appreciate your time for watching. Of course, we do have a trading group that you can join, and that link is in the description. If you have any other comments or questions that you'd like to ask me, just feel free to reach out to me, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you very much for listening, guys, and we'll see you all in our next video.